Nice.
Oh man, was there? So obviously you're going to talk about the trip and whatever else, but I just want to get it out of the way right now. What was the most underwhelming / disappointing thing that you noticed? Or you were like, hey, because that's the one thing you're like, what, really?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have very good weather, which, I mean, that's not their fault. But I mean, honestly, I was telling a friend of mine, this was the least I've ever wanted to come home. was this trip. Like, I was like, I wasn't missing anything. Like, I was not at that point yet. I think, like, I don't know. Maybe my expectations were just in the right place.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I know that happens.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you kind of romanticize a place so much that, like, when you get there, you tell yourself, yeah, everything's perfect, everything's fine, but then, like, you sit back and you're like, oh, well, you know what, that wasn't. Well, that kind of sucked. But if like you said, if everything was exactly the way you wanted it to be.
I mean, I don't think anything. I think, like, I guess what I would say is, of the, like, 3 main cities we visited, Kyoto, Tokyo, and Osaka, I think I was surprised that across all 3, restaurants and stuff closed pretty early. So, like, there were multiple times where we'd try to go out somewhere, and it's just like, oh, it's like 9:00 unless I had a reservation somewhere, nothing's ready to go. So that was surprising.
I know that there's a whole, like, nightlife in certain cities.
There is, but it's not
find
like
it. But
well, and it's also like it's clubs and, like, that kind of thing. It's not like I mean, we're in our mid-30s. We're like, we're not gonna go dancing the whole night. Like, I'm just looking for some, like, looking for some katsu.
Yeah, there's a show on Netflix that I watched that came out about a year ago. It was something called like Nightlife or something, and it was pretty much like they took different countries and they kind of showed, like, the after hours, like the once the sun goes down, what's the popular thing. And they had an episode about, like, India and like Thailand and whatever. And the Japan one was really cool. There was a couple of fun things that I saw there. I was like, wow, this is this whole, like, weird nightlife that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, Japan, everything looks amazing at night. Like, easily some of the most photogenic places I've ever been. It's crazy. Like, you don't have to be good at anything with a camera, and, like, your stuff still turns out looking.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some of the pictures you put up, and it was just like, great looking. Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, DFW?
But yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you've probably told all sorts of stories about it already, but I'm gonna grill you.
Happy to go through it all,
about it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's. I'll roll the brand, and then we'll go. Let's go. Doggo for the clicks.
Perfect.
Doggo for the clicks. There we go.
What's the doggo's name, man?
Her name is Mochi.
Hey, Mochi. All right.
Yeah, that's Mochi, and the one right there is Zelda.
Nice.
The one that blends into the couch is Zelda.
Good pups. They're feeling like how I'm feeling.
Yeah, I bet. So, man, welcome back, and also we're back. Well, Mid-Geek Crisis Thursday. It has been a wild month, man. It's like 3 weeks since you've been here, and at the same time, lots happened. I mean, I don't even want to really talk about all the crap that happened. Like I'm sure from just to, the weirdness of, like, the emulation space. I'm sure you heard the whole Yuzu situation.
Yeah, the Yuzu
that
stuff.
came. I talked about it, and then by like 24 to 48 hours, they settled, and we're just like done.
They're like, we're out.
were out. They didn't even want to make the fight, which is, concerning for sure. But
I feel like that happens a lot with when folks come up against old Nintendo, man.
Yeah, man, it just such a mess. It's such a
Yeah.
mess. But for those that didn't hear, Yuzu, we talked about it in the last show that I was on. I came on and talked about how Yuzu, an emulator created by a team that basically plays Nintendo Switch games on your computer and random devices or whatever. Nintendo went after him, and Yuzu had said they were going to put up a fight, and then I'm serious, like the day after I talked about that, they were like, Yuzu has settled.
Yeah, it did not.
End of story.
Long.
It did not last long. They must have had them down. I think from what I heard, I think the biggest problematic moment for them, the thing that they couldn't really justify, was the fact that they had a Patreon. And
that was like the link
during,
to the profit.
Yeah, which is around the time that Tears of the Kingdom came out,
right?
They had spiked to about $43,000 a month, I think, is what they were making.
Right.
And so, with that in mind, that meant that they were making money off of like unreleased stuff, which is interesting because they didn't provide you with anything. They didn't give the game. They didn't provide you with any keys
like
or
all the
anything
other
to play
emulators,
these games.
Right? They're just like,
You need to provide all of this. So like, I'm sure they could have really fought it, but when you're fighting against this titanic wave that is Nintendo and their IP, and I mean, I don't know if you saw any of the like weird news around that, like how much Nintendo had like gathered information.
Oh, they were ready.
They had like private investigators. They had like, he lives with his mom. He comes home at this hour. No one comes. Like they were talking about all the developers and where he lives. They had surveillance on him. I was just like, whoa. I mean, that was straight up Pinkerton like level.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Like those ninjas were, he closed his eyes and those ninjas were sitting in the corner for months and months. Absolutely. So, so that's the end of that. So Yuzu is no more. And the same day that Yuzu kind of like went away, Citra also closed its doors.
Oh, I missed that.
For so 3DS as well. So the 3DS, the Citra emulator, is pretty much closed its door. Yeah. Because they were like, nope, they smelled blood in the water. They smelled blood in the water, and they were like, nope, we're out. We're out.
Dude.
So another big emulator as well. And then there's all sorts of other things that like
huge emulator.
I mean, so they've been around, but they didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to deal with it.
Wow.
They're just So I mean that happened, and then you've had all sorts of random news, and we had we had an Xbox kind of like a small like event kind of thing, or whatever,
like a partner.
The partner that was there before you left, but then that's pretty much it. It's been pretty here or there. Dune came out.
I know. I still haven't seen it.
Don't know if you got to see.
Not yet.
Seen it? We saw it. We saw it this past Saturday, and
nice.
I don't know. I don't know if it had come out in Japan yet. I know sometimes release dates are different in Japan, but
I didn't see any ads for it around. It might have, but I definitely didn't see any ads for it around. I'm not sure what Dune's profile is in Japan.
I don't know. They really dig.
I'm sure there's fans over
there. They really dig sci-fi. So there's definitely a fan base. Yeah, man, Nintendo for the loss for sure. The whole Yuzu emulation story was kind of big. All sorts of, I mean, it's been talked to death in the past couple weeks, and right now all emulation creators are kind of like walking on eggshells. They're really like,
it's dicey.
Nintendo shows that they show their strength. They come in and they're just like, ooh, they flex on everybody, and everyone just goes, oh crap, sorry, ooh, and everyone steps back. So that's kind of the nature of the beast at the moment. But so outside of that, I mean, next, just real quick, just for anyone who's in here, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show as well. So next week, Wednesday, I fly out to Boston for PAX. Jordan will be out in Boston for PAX. So I'm excited. It's Boston. It's my yearly like vacation. more so than ever. Life has changed in the year since last PAX for me, at least,
Yeah.
and definitely, I'll talk about it on the show in a minute. You know, all the stuff that's been going on. I'm actually on spring break for like the first time in like
Oh,
forever. Like I've never, because
nice.
like yeah, so I'm actually on spring break. Like so my new job is in academia, is in the academic space, and they're out on spring break, and
Yeah,
I've
get
got a
that
week off
schedule
from spring
going.
break. So it's yeah, I've got that teacher schedule going. So that's really cool. And I'll talk a little bit about my job a little bit later, but I want to hear all about your trip because I have been like so
Yeah, dude.
excited for that kind of stuff. I want to hear. So like so so kick it off, man. Like you left here. How long was the flight? You know, how was the flight
Yeah.
there? I know
So,
that
I
kind of
mean,
stuff. Let's go. I want
it's
to
a
sit
long
back and just
flight. It's
listen.
good. We let's see. So we left I think like 23rd February. So it was about 2.5 weeks that we were gone total. Basically
Yeah.
little more than 2 weeks in Japan itself, and then like 1 or 2 days on each side, kind of dedicated to travel because that the flight is long. I'm here in Syracuse. We flew on the way out. It was to Detroit, and then it was direct from Detroit to Tokyo. So like the Detroit to Tokyo flight was 19 hours, which that was
Wow.
by far the longest flight I've had. And then it's 13 hours ahead,
Who did you
and
fly
so
from?
we
From
did
Detroit
Delta.
to okay.
Yeah, Delta. We had
So
points.
okay. So it was all American staff, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it was on the way out, and then we flew Delta on the way back, and it was like an international staff.
Okay.
And So yeah, so we got in, and it was one of those things where I think we just timed it right on the way out, where when we got in, it was like kind of late, and so we could just we were sleep deprived from the previous like the like 30 hours of like not knowing what time it was, and I don't sleep well on planes, so we got in at late and we were able to crash and then kind of wake up pretty fresh. And so we split across the 2 weeks. We did Tokyo for a few nights first. Then we went out to Kanazawa, which is on the Sea of Japan side of Japan, kind of a smaller city, like something like 600, 700,000 people. And then, which is funny. And this is the thing that was like true kind of across the whole trip is like all the cities, even the smaller ones, were bigger than what I'm used to in terms of people, right? So like when I think about like obviously Syracuse is a small city, it's like 150,000, and then I'll go and visit my friend in Portland, or we'll go to Boston next week, and those are cities of like 5 or 600,000. And Kanazawa, it's about that size. No traffic, no nothing. It feels like a town of like 30,000, like because of how efficiently everything runs. It's crazy. So yeah, we went
Huh.
to Tokyo, Kanazawa, Osaka, and then we day tripped from Osaka to Hiroshima and Okayama, and then Kyoto, and then we went to Takayama, which is like another small city in the Alps, and then finished out in Tokyo. So it was 5 total cities that we stayed overnight in, with a couple day trips out to some other places. Um, and all of our travel was train. We didn't rent a car. We didn't do any flights domestically. Hiroshima was great. I mean, we were only there for about a half day, so we didn't spend all that much time. It was sobering. I mean, it was a really sobering place to be. Um, there were a lot of things about it that I think one of my like kind of takeaways from the whole trip is how much I appreciated the way everywhere we went was really thoughtful about its use of public space, and people were very respectful of public space and sharing that space, and that
That's cool.
really bled into what they were doing in Hiroshima with the memorials and the peace memorial and the park that was there, where it felt so strongly like that city took on a lot of responsibility to tell their story in a way that could translate to as many people as possible to prevent that kind of violence again, right? It was really a powerful place to be. It's like one of those things where like you first get there, and the way the Hiroshima Peace Memorial is set up, right, is the sort of first thing you see when you get off the bus is the leftover structure of one of the remaining buildings from the Hiroshima bombing. And that in and of itself is really kind of like powerful and sobering to stand in front of. And then the park, as you move around the park, there's all kinds of individual memorials. So like there's like one memorial that's kind of to the children that were lost that day. There's another memorial that is to the Korean lives that were lost that day. There's like a big bell that you can ring, and it's very kind of like ceremonial. But what we were just there in the middle of the day, right, on a weekday. It was not like a special day of any kind, and
Right, right, right.
um, you could see everywhere there were like older folks, older Japanese folks who had volunteered their time to lead school kids around and talk to them about everything. And so, like, probably in the day that we were there, I probably saw a dozen and a half different kind of older people just like walking around with like school kids of all kinds of ages, everything from like 7 years old to like high school. And each place you'd go, you'd see how like there was just so much care and like this is important for all of us to acknowledge together. Yeah, that's a great shot of one of the main memorials. So that arch you can see right through it leads to that bombed out building that kind of stands in memorial to the city. And what's amazing is like it's a really beautiful modern functioning city, and this is just right in the heart of it. And so you're there and you're sort of forced to think about like um they didn't erase this really painful part of their history. They preserved it, preserved aspects of it, and then built up around it. And it just functions really, really well. It's one of the best kind of like monuments memorials I think I've ever been to. It because of how like sincere it felt and how lively it felt. Also, like right one block from here was their main baseball stadium, and so like there's like a huge, beautiful park that like families are in as a park, and then right next to it is this incredibly sobering thing, and they just did such a good job with it, and they've connected it to like modern time stuff too. So like there was a really extensive sort of temporary exhibit right by the Peace Bell that was about sort of Japan and America's shared history of imperialism and connected that to like the war in Ukraine and like how important it is just to fight for peace across all fronts. Really amazing, really really wonderful. And yeah, JT-17. Yeah, right. Like it was right at the epicenter of the blast that cathedral stood. And the cathedral that was a European architect that had designed it, and it was a real centerpiece to Hiroshima when it was bombed. And so um, it's pretty amazing what they've done there to kind of like memorialize it. And we were only there for an afternoon. We took the train from um, took the train from Osaka. There it was about like a 2 hour train ride, and definitely was worth it. So that was kind of on the back half of the trip. Um, I'm trying to think. On the way out, the other thing that we did that was like really cool that I would recommend anyone if you go to Japan, you try to do is in Kanazawa and in Okayama. Um, so Japan has these like three great gardens, like the three great gardens of Japan. And I'm not a huge plant guy. I'm not like really much of a gardener at all. But those two places, the Kenrokuen in Kanazawa and uh, Karokuen, I might get that wrong. The one that's in
Yeah,
Okayama.
it's in Okayama.
Yeah, so both of those, and then there's a third one in Mito that we did not get to go to, but those two were just like amazing experiences, really, really fantastic to just be in those spaces. And it's again kind of another instance of like that care and attention to public space and shared public space that was sort of evident everywhere. I can pull up actually a couple of pictures I took of some of that.
Which one did you go to?
Um, we went to Kenrokuen, which was in Kanazawa, and then Kaorokuen, which was in Okayama. We went to both. Kenrokuen, because it's in Kanazawa, is probably the more common visit because Kanazawa, people call it Little Kyoto. There's a lot of really kind of traditional, cool, old architecture that's been preserved there. But yeah, I mean, just really incredibly stunning. So yeah, that was those ones. Um, Sorting through my photos right now. 'Cause I can share a couple. Oh yeah, and then we did the day trip as well to Nara, with where all the deer are kind of wandering around. Yeah, you can see. I mean, it's just like insanely gorgeous there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you're just wandering around, and
Yeah, so
like there's
you did the deer. I know that. I
yeah,
know
we
you
did
had
the deer in Nara, which that was cool too, because like the deer were there, and that was like a good attraction. There was a fun part about it, but it was also just like a nice laid back city with a really incredible uh, uh, temple, Shinto Buddhist temple there, and the gate there is like enormous and it's like it's really stunning like architecture. Um, yeah, I think we ended up kind of doing two or three things every day. right? Like going and seeing or walking around 2 or 3 neighborhoods every day. And we were really putting on the steps. I think we were
Mm,
averaging like 26, 27,000 steps a day. I counted up the miles when I got home. That's like, I think over the trip we walked over 170 miles um, over the
wow.
course of 2 weeks. So we kind of just hoofed it to see as much of it as we could. Um, yeah, that's the gate in Nara. And I mean, it's a gorgeous place. There's like the largest, I think one of the largest bronze Buddhas is like sort of housed there. And I can let me see. Yeah, yeah, I'll share this.
So, out of everything, so like, let's say,
Yeah. So like
we'll
that's hiking
backtrack
and
a
you can
little
see
bit.
the deer right there.
Oh, let's see what we got here.
So yeah, that's oops,
Yeah,
I got rid of it there.
and they just wander, right? And
Oh
they've
yeah.
all like they learn how to beg, how to ask for food. So they kind of all bow, don't they?
They bow to you and like they'll if they think you've got food on them, you gotta put your hands up and show them that you don't because they will persevere. They are they're polite, but they know what they want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they know what they want, of course. Yeah, but they've been trained.
Yeah,
They're animals
absolutely. Yeah,
that are in public, and
there's a couple of these guys. I think this is a video that I'll play a little bit, but it's
love it.
they're persistent.
And they just follow you around because they're like, hey, you got food? You got
Oh
food?
yeah,
You got food?
yeah, absolutely.
So let's go back here. So you get
Yeah,
there,
we'll go back. Yeah.
and uh, so you land. Where did you land? For you landed in Tokyo, right?
Tokyo. Yep.
So you landed in
Haneda
Tokyo.
Airport. Yep.
Okay, and so let's talk a little about what you did there. So before you left that city,
Yeah.
before you left Tokyo, give us kind of a little rundown on what you do
Totally.
shopping
So
wise. What you do during this, like food?
yeah,
What
yeah.
happened there?
So we started and ended in Tokyo, right? So on our first kind of when we first got there in Tokyo, we stayed mostly on the west side of the city. So we stayed in a neighborhood called Roppongi, which is like known for shopping and nightlife. It's one of the wealthier districts. Basically, we were there again because we had hotel points there. That's sort of how you make it work.
Right, right.
But that's also the side of things that like Shibuya and Shinjuku are on that side. And as well as like a couple like nice parks, like Meiji Jingu Shrine is there, and so we sort of in those first few days. This video, this is in Hanegi Park, which they have a really beautiful plum blossom grove, and so we weren't there for cherry blossoms, but were there for plum blossoms. And so our first day there, we kind of took a subway over here to Hanegi Park and saw the plum blossoms, and that was like they were having a plum blossom festival. So there were like all kinds of families and kids around. They have something like 600 plum trees there. We, walked over from there to
And you see
a
that, you see all this, like the wires and all of that, and it like, and any other, like, it's so funny how we think of Japan is kind of ingrained all of that, especially if you watch any anime or whatnot.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like in all anime, that all the artists will draw that, and it's
Hmm.
just become kind of like artistic geometry in like the
Yeah,
background. You just, it's there, and then it's there in real life. That's how it actually is. And
100%.
in any other time, you would be like, oh, it's chaotic, all these wires. But then you look at it in Japan, you're like, wow, why is that beautiful? Like,
Yeah,
why does that work? Like,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand.
I mean, I love that you're bringing that up because I think like one of the really cool things for me, just like being in Japan, is there's so much like visual framing in the architecture but it's also really practical. So like uh the entire time I was there, I think I saw one parking garage, right? It's like it's all apartments. It's so much housing. And then none of that's like made to look showy, but it looks beautiful because its form is so practical and because everything sort of just fits really well. And so there's just so much of that. So we walked over from the park over to a neighborhood that had a lot of thrifting and happened to stumble across this cream puff shop that was Totoro themed and delicious. Um,
Awesome.
so they
Awesome.
had like little Totoro shaped cream puffs that we got. And then I think the next shot that you pulled up there that was from that's it. that was in Roppongi. It's a museum, but the subway stop actually just comes out in the museum lobby. So this is what it
That's
looks like when
cool.
you come out of the subway to go to
Mm.
that neighborhood.
Very
And
New
so yeah,
York style.
those first couple days we mostly stayed on that west side of Tokyo, and we were kind of like tired from travel and all of that, but so that this was at a really good soba place that we went to. That's just a block of marinated tofu with some wasabi on it. It was delicious.
Mm.
Um,
I'm
the
not a big fan of tofu. I have yet to find a tofu that I enjoy, a dish of it that I enjoy, but, you
Yeah,
know.
Whitney's kind of in the same boat, and she also doesn't like egg. And I think because like the texture of tofu can be similar to the texture of egg, I think that was a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
more challenging for her. But I'll say this: the tofu in Japan has a lot more taste than the tofu I've had here. It tastes nutty, right? Like, it has more of that like kind of soybean flavor to it, which was nice because it's so fresh. Um, and then yeah, that's just a shot from really close to the hotel that we stayed in. Which the hotel we stayed in was right in. I can't remember the name of it now, but it was like right in Roppongi Hills, which is like this super nice kind of modern shopping slash entertainment center on Roppongi. Which that was something that was super interesting. Is like malls are very much still part of life
A Japan
in a
culture?
big way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
we spent a lot of time just walking around inside of like malls, which I have not done in years. Because like the malls and department stores are still extremely successful there. It's interesting. It feels almost nostalgic because it's uh, a big successful mall is not something I'm seeing a lot of in the
Yeah,
states.
no, I mean, it's there's a yeah, that's a it's an interesting observation in the way that American culture has kind of, like, become.
Yeah,
We don't we really don't like sharing as much space with others as much as we say we do.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Big cities, are forced to be that way, but then, like, that's where the connotation of big cities like New York and stuff, where people are kinda like they always say they're kinda rude or whatever because even they are like, "Get out of my way," like, I gotta get from
yeah,
point A to point B, that sort of
yeah, yeah,
stuff, and so malls, the shared space, the everything's an inconvenience. Like it's just like, oh, I don't
yeah.
want to have to go and park this
Right.
giant parking lot to walk into this location just to then walk even some more to get to my store.
Yep.
And then I just want to get in and get out. I want to get in and get out. Everything's about
Yeah, yeah,
like move, move, move fast, get there, get out, get out. Japan life, first off, is already feels like it's very like everyone walks everywhere, rides a bike, they commute, they use the
sure.
subway, they use all of
Yep.
that because, like you said, real estate in general is very much a, a luxury. There isn't many like parking spots or whatever that that works. So
Yeah,
everyone just walks around, and so the idea of being around other people is just the norm. But then instead of just instead of creating a lifestyle where we're just trying to constantly find a way to be away from people,
yep,
they have found a way to create the zen even with like people being elbow to elbow, right?
yeah,
Like everything is very meticulously thought of, laid out in the benefit of like everyone's personal space, but at the same
yep.
time shared.
I mean, a
So
really good example of
that's
that
really
is just
cool.
like the subways in Tokyo are virtually silent. Like you'll get on a subway, busiest subway I've ever been on by far, rush hour, and
Right, right. And so I've heard the thing where they shove you in. Everyone's trying to get in, and then they're
I
like,
mean, it was packed,
depending
but like,
depending on the city, depending on what area and time and
yeah,
whatever. I've heard
it
that it
it was
can be
packed, but
very like
it's quiet. No one's shouting. No one's barely anybody's even talking. Everybody's just like quiet on the ride, quiet off. It's like it is. It was
everyone is
so peaceful, like
yeah.
to just
Everyone
be
seems
on
to
the
be
subway at rush
very
hour.
very aware of everyone else's personal space. Like
Yeah,
if you're talking, then you are invading their space by making sound into their ears. So like
yeah,
everyone's got headphones, or everyone's just kind of like in their like own thing. And so I can imagine that the idea of someone like talking loudly on a phone
yep,
on a verbal conversation would be very rude. Like that would
yeah.
be just very rude and very
And
not
and I think
not the
that's
norm.
that's kind of the thing, right? Is like it didn't feel I was worried that because I'd heard that that was true, right? That, like, there was a lot of, like, things that we are used to in the US being kinda, like, really noisy or expressive spaces are, like, quite quiet, to be polite, right? In Japan and in major cities in Japan. And I was worried that that would feel sort of, like, awkward or kind of, like, oppressive to me because I'm not a very quiet person. Like, I can get loud. My family's really expressive. Um, but I found it to be really nice actually because it felt like there was, really just shared responsibility, like shared effort. Like it felt like people were protecting each other's peace, not that people were trying to not disrupt someone else, if that makes sense.
That's a
That was
good way
kind
of
of the
putting
vibe,
it.
which I
Yeah,
really
that's
enjoyed.
definitely a good vibe. Yeah,
I
that sounds
really,
like a
really
pretty
enjoyed that.
good idea, like good way to put it. Because you're right. Like I would rather I would rather be mindful of not just I don't want to be loud because I'm loud. I want to be loud. I don't want to be loud because I don't want to disrupt someone else's
Yeah,
I don't want to harsh anyone's vibe, man. And so
yeah,
like the
yeah,
fact that
yeah,
everyone is aware of that means that everyone is like collectively like keeping everyone okay. So
exactly,
that's pretty cool. That's pretty
exactly.
cool. So day one, day two, shopping wise, any cool stores, anything like
Yeah, I
anyone
mean,
you went to in
our first
Tokyo?
stint in Tokyo, we went to this shopping mall called Parks, but that's where the
Right.
Pokemon and the Nintendo and the Capcom store were all on the sixth floor of that spot. Got to check all that out. Super, super cool. I think I shared on the Facebook group the picture of me at the Monster Hunter photo op. And so that was there at the Capcom I'll pull this up. That was there at the Capcom store there in the mall, which
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun in. But that was also the space where yeah, so there was like a
And
Lego
we're
shop
no
there.
strangers to posing with giant dioramas, right? For going to PAX and all of that. So
Exactly.
like, but I
Um
love that that's just there. That of
Well, and
course.
so that this shot of Tokyo is just the roof deck of the same building that that Capcom store was in. And so it was we kind of like went up there after we did some shopping for our friends' kids at the Pokemon shop, and they had like this giant Mewtwo like in a huge like life size vat like
Yeah, they've
outside,
got the
which was cool.
the big capsule, right? The big like
Yeah,
the lab tank where he's like binded up in the he's got
exactly.
the the gloves and the mask on. I've seen
Which
pictures of that.
it was cool. I know I got a video of that somewhere. I'll post it to the Facebook page
I've
later
heard all
on. So
the big Pokemon stores and whatnot. There's like all sorts of like things that you can do, um, like if you've got like your Switch or whatever, you can like trade.
yeah.
There's like an air thing going on, and you can like
Oh
trade
yeah.
and whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
And like
3DS, they
they
still got that
also
kind of stuff going on.
it's interesting because like we also like in Osaka, this is jumping ahead a little bit. In Osaka, we went to like the aquarium in Osaka, which is a really incredible like six-story structure in the it's built around a
Oh, I
six-story
can
deep
imagine.
tank. And so like you just kind of go farther and farther down the tank. But they, you know, where a lot of places will have QR codes, right, to get like more kind of information about an exhibit. They had like stuff for your DS, like you could have like your DS, and that would like give you little mini
That's so
games for the
cool.
aquarium, which was cool. But in Tokyo, so speaking of malls roles, I know you brought that up. It's 100% true that the malls are popping over there. This uh, beautiful food court where I got this strawberry and cream sandwich, which was
Oh,
delicious.
Sando,
This
strawberry and
is
cream Sando.
this is a train station. Like this is underground as I'm catching my train. This is just one of the train stations in Tokyo that's like this. And so many train stations were like this. They were nice, clean, gorgeous. The food quality was amazing. And it's just like these are the things that like, man, I I cannot imagine this back here. like
Yeah,
like when's the
so
last time you've been to an airport that was like, I really want to spend my money here on a sandwich.
I I always that's so funny you mentioned that the comparison there. When Courtney and I when I took Courtney when we went to Mexico, and you go into like
Mhm.
Mexico proper, and you go into like the shopping districts, and you go into like they're exactly the same way. Everything is
Yep.
pristine,
Yeah.
everything is clean. The
Yep.
the 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 commerce aspect of it, it feels like that old Americana vibe where like all of the employees have like little like vests and they're just like
Yeah.
they're
The service
very
culture is
much like
crazy good.
the service culture, like, and that seems to be very like everyone adopted that from the American culture from the back in the day, but then we moved on from that, and everyone else is
Yeah.
like, why would you do that? Like, why
Yeah.
would you like remove less of the hospitality aspect of the shopping
Yep.
environment? And
Well, and part of
most
that
countries
too,
still do that.
it's like it's so important to be respectful of your servers too, right? Like,
Right.
the entire time I was there, right, I didn't see a single server get yelled at or a single retail employee like have like a weird interaction with someone, right? Like people are like much more respectful in that like interaction than what I'm used to over here. Um, Another thing I'll pull up here. This was later that day, so we went to Shibuya, which is the sort of like one of the more famous kind of areas in
Yeah.
Tokyo. So like if you've played like Persona 5, right? Like a lot of that's in Shibuya. This is like you can see how busy the train station here is. Um,
So beautiful.
that gives you an idea. And like
Yeah, everything has like little melodies and music, right? Like everything's
this is actually how quiet it is.
16番線ドアが閉まります。ご注意ください。
That's at like
That's
5
great.
p.m.
Yeah.
in the busiest train station in the world.
Yeah, and it's just like you can hear everything.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's so cool.
And so we wrapped up at Omoida Yokocho, which is a sort of a Showa era um uh like alley full of kind of restaurant stalls and like yakitori, that
Looks
kind
so
of thing.
cool.
Isn't it? It's insane. It just is this, right? It still looks like this. And obviously it's like a really touristy spot, but they've done a really good job, I think, in sort of preserving a lot of character for this alley.
Yeah,
And this is where this was the stall we sat at. This is my guy. He just grilled up a ton of meat for us. It was like 500, 300 yen a stick, which is, like less than like a couple bucks.
yeah.
And so we kind of went to town here. And it was great. It was so good. And then the other thing I liked about this little trip down Omoide Yokocho, yeah, here's another couple good shots of it. Was we found
cool.
a bar that had like a little rooftop, and we were the only people on the rooftop, and so it was just us in this little like rooftop bar that then kind of looked out onto the alley itself, and we got this really cool perspective that I don't think like you normally are able to get, which was super dope. Really
Like
had a lot of
playing
fun up
Stray.
there. Exactly, right? Exactly.
Like that moment where you're just like a cat, you're just
Yeah.
walking around, you're seeing down onto the city and whatever else.
Yeah,
That's
you
freaking
got it.
cool.
And so like it was great. That was kind of our first stint in Tokyo. We really didn't put a lot of pressure on us to make sure we saw all the sites. You know what I mean? We just sort of tried to see what was there for us to see, and get as much as just try to soak in as much as we can, I guess. So Rolls, I see this question here. This is a good question. So yes,
Yeah, they do.
Absolutely,
Very much so.
And there's kind of two levels to it in the same way in the States, right? There's the kind of big beer companies, and then there's a pretty good craft beer scene as well. The big beer companies like Asahi, Sapporo, those are basically just good lagers. They're like
they're the Bud Light, Miller Light. They're the go-to lager.
The Modelo's, the it's like that kind of thing.
Klosch, what is it? It's Klosch style lager style.
Kolsch. Yep.
Kolsch. Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are there. And then there's a craft beer scene. I didn't get to try out as much of the craft beer because I feel like I know craft beer here pretty well. So I wanted to get more into the sake because I knew a lot less about that. And there definitely is a bunch of sake around. But the beer scene's definitely there. The cool thing about it too, right, is like the beer that's there, I feel is just like it's perfect for the yakitori. Just you sit down with a cold beer and chicken on a stick, and it is like, oh my god, that is a perfect situation, man.
Yeah, that sounds like my jam right there.
Yeah.
What a cool shot there. That shot right here.
Isn't that sick?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. Like it's that urban vibe.
Your attention, please. A train.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we went from Tokyo to Kanazawa, which was about a 2.5 hour bullet train ride through the Alps. Beautiful. Like just again, it kind of insane scenery. I'll pop up a little bit here for that.
Yeah, I got some of those here for you. So this
Oh,
is
sick. Yeah. So we got to see some snow because we were up in the mountains, which was cool. And Kanazawa, like I said, is kind of like known as like little Kyoto. So there's like a lot of really traditional looking buildings, a lot of machiya style stuff, and sort of like geisha district tea house kind of stuff as well. But yeah, I mean the train was amazing. I wasn't.
yeah, it's a bullet
expecting-
train, right? So
Yeah.
you're just flying.
Yeah. I think that one that we were on was like 165 mph is what it topped out at.
Yeah, I mean you can see how fast. I mean you're flying across that. You see everything just kind of like, and all the buildings are just like
Yeah.
way faster than they would be on like a car.
Well, and 2027, I think, is when the new maglev between Kyoto and Tokyo is going to be done, and that thing is going to be crazy fast. Like that tops out at 300. So I'm excited for that to get done.
Oh, that's gonna be so cool.
Yeah. It'll be
2027. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's it.
the market on your
So
calendar.
yeah, we're on the next trip already.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, man. There's no way I'm not going back.
So talk to me about food, man. I want to hear about food.
So this was like really one of our first cool food experiences. Was we stayed at a traditional inn in Kanazawa, like they're called ryokans, right? And a lot of those places, when you stay there, you also get a traditional kaiseki meal, which kaiseki is a style of cuisine. It's a lot like a prefix menu, right? Where you get like a bunch of courses, and it is what it is, and they give it to you. And so in this case, the kaiseki meal here, this was I think the third course, just like a sashimi course with some fresh wasabi and some yuzu.
Now, how
shiso.
you gotta describe it to me because I've heard like the seafood, like the freshness, the freshness of the seafood is like,
yeah,
like it's uncanny. Like you got to be a fan of seafood, but there's like,
yeah,
like I can just imagine.
There's 3 fish on the plate here, right? One is like a mackerel, one was like one is a tuna, and then one was, I can't remember what the third one was. It was something similar to yellowtail, but it was not yellowtail. But the textures and the flavors were, like you said, really fresh, but also just like so different from one another. Like it was
yeah, distinct. You could
like, it was
like
so
you weren't.
cool.
It didn't all just taste like fish.
Exactly. Really beautiful stuff. And Kanazawa, because it's like very close to the ocean, is a really good seafood town. So they really showed it off in this meal. There was another course that we had there that was like I think it's duguro. I always get the name of this fish wrong, but it's a fish that like is indigenous to Japan, and it's very famous. Elsewhere, I think it's known as like a sea perch. Best fish I've ever had in my life, and it was like a perfect piece of like charred nodoguro. That's what it's called. And god damn, that was so good, man. I can't even. I've never had anything like it. It was like if fish was perfect steak. Like it was unbelievably good. So that was. Hey, what's up, man? I will say that meal ended with probably the most challenging dish of the year for me, which was it was just steamed rice and steamed oysters. And I normally like oysters. I'm an oyster guy. I'll right out of the shell love it. These steamed oysters did not agree with me. That was a tough sell for me. They were I
texturally
can only describe them as
different,
vaguely testicular. Is sort of how they ended up feeling. So we got through it. We're good. But the rest of that meal was unbelievably tasty. I actually forgot to take a picture of the oyster course. I have a picture of every other course. That one I left out from my
it's
memory.
mentally framed forever.
Yeah,
so
it's gone. We don't need to worry about it anymore. It can't get us anymore.
So I'm a big when we travel, one of my favorite thing to do is wherever I'm at, I'm always like I like to hit up the either small grocery stores or
Oh
small
yeah,
like convenience stores, and I'm a
yeah,
fan of picking up snacks and taking them back to like the hotel room or whatever, so that I can like kind of
yeah,
munch
bud.
on or whatever while we're there. So describe, man. What was like your thing? Did you find
I mean,
anything
look.
new or something that you? Every time I go anywhere I go, I end up finding like a particular snack that I vibe with, and then for the
Yep.
rest of the trip, I'm like picking it up everywhere I go.
So there's
So
three big
was it a
convenience stores,
drink or something?
right? There's three big
Sure.
convenience stores in
7-Eleven is
Japan:
one of them.
7-Eleven,
Yep.
Lawson's, Family Mart, and we went to all three. Lawson's was our favorite, and that's because Lawson's popcorn chicken, insane, dude. You walk into a gas station style convenience store, you pick up a box of chicken
Yeah.
from that place. Holy crap, dude, so good. I would put it up against literally any fast food fried chicken in the US and it's way better. It's like I'm sorry, Chick-fil-A, your nugs don't stand a chance against this
Nah.
stuff, dude. And they came in like, so you can get spicy, you get regular, you can get like a little yuzu flavored one, and it was unbelievably good, dude. So that was our winner. Was those. The other winner is the vending machines that are all over the place there. You can get hot or cold drinks from, like, and so you order a hot coffee and it comes out of the vending machine, perfect temp, and I mean,
Of
like,
course it
what more
does.
can you want?
Of course
What
it
more can you
does.
want?
And all those machines are like perfectly maintained and whatever else. Of
Oh
course
yeah,
they are. Of course
yeah,
they
yeah,
are.
absolutely, man, absolutely.
Any
Um,
good soft drinks? I'm a fan of always to the fizzies.
oh
All the
yeah,
different fizzies, different.
that's a good question. I don't think I had that many soft drinks. I think it was mostly. Oh, you know what? It almost like a Gatorade kind of thing, and I didn't have it until the end of the trip, but as soon as I had it the first time, I bought,
The
like,
Pocari Sweat.
6 more. The Pocari Sweat, man. That
Pocari
Pocari
Sweat.
Sweat, holy crap, that was good. I could not believe how good that stuff was. I want more. I gotta
It's
find a
harder
way
to
to get
get.
more of it.
It's harder to get here in the U.S., but there
It's
are
in
import
Mexico
places.
too.
Yeah, it is in Mexico now. They started selling it in Mexico. Pocari Sweat is also. That's what I'm saying. And we'll talk about it
Bro.
at the tail end here because so you were there and you were there when they finally announced that Akira Toriyama passed away.
I was. Yeah. Yep.
How
I
did
was
how
I
did,
was
how was
there.
that?
I mean, it was like it was the kind of thing where if we struck up a conversation with someone like at a bar or something like that, it was one of the first things we talked about, right? Like on our last night in Japan, we were at a cocktail bar in Tokyo, and our bartender and our bar back, they didn't speak, very much English, and I don't speak very much Japanese, so we were
But
kind of having
everyone's
a
like Dragon
conversation.
Ball.
Well, so we were having a conversation over like phone translation, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
um they're asking us why we were there, and I was just talking about, like, I love these different things that Japan makes, and he asked us if we knew Dragon Ball, if we knew Akira Toriyama, and I was like, yeah, and like it was a very sober thing. Like everybody that talked about it was like, yeah, this guy is a hero, right? And
A
which he
legend.
is, of course he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely um just like it was nice to see how loved he was, right? Like
Right.
that's what I would say. Like
Right.
it felt right to kind of be there when that happened.
Internationally, right? So that was
Oh
the
yeah,
what while I was following along the story and everything else that was going on, and I mean I'm sure you saw all of the Latin America like
yeah.
visuals they had like Mexico City had a whole like gathering in the plaza, like everyone was like
Oh yeah,
putting their hands up and doing the whole like doing the Genhidama, the
yeah,
freaking the soul bomb, just to do it because
yeah,
like paying respect to the dude. And Mexico, I mean, all of the if you follow any of the like Mexican like franchises, like even the KFC in Mexico and Latin America, they put up like little ads and whatever else, like thank you Akira, and I'm like, holy
yeah.
crap, like in the US, while he was big, like you don't see companies mentioning him,
No,
but
yeah,
like
you
that's
don't see
how
that.
big he is in
Yeah,
like in Latin America. It's like
I
there
mean,
are things that like just I don't know, like
yeah,
Japanese animation and Latin America really went hand in hand. There was Latin America didn't get a lot of the American animation until later,
yeah,
but Japan brought over lots of animation for years since the '60s. My dad grew up watching like Astro Boy and all of the old cartoon, Speed Racer and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff was all, at the same time it was airing in Japan or whatever, it was airing
Yep.
in Mexico, and they were translating it live. They were getting it in a very different way than we got. The US didn't adopt anime until far later.
Right.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
could just the relationship of Japan and things like Akira Toriyama and other countries is just kind of like amazing.
I mean,
So I can only
remember
imagine being there when that.
Whitney and I went to Mexico City in 2019, I think, and like we saw more Dragon Ball ads than any other property, right? Like
Yeah.
just huge billboards for like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball. Like it
Yeah.
was huge. It was the biggest thing.
It's never left. It's never left popularity.
Yeah.
Like that's the interesting part. It's like while there is new stuff like Super came out a few years ago and it's over with, like it's never not in common, like
It's always
marketing.
in circulation.
It's always in circulation.
Yeah.
They're always playing it. There's always toys and cards and promotions and bags of chips with stickers in it inside and whatever else. And so like that kind of stuff just never stops, and there's no reason to. Like the fad aspect of Mexico or Latin America doesn't really go. Like there are things that kind of come and go, but things like that just never leave. They never leave the zeitgeist that is Mexican culture. So Chrono Trigger, fun. I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
So I wanted to share one more thing with you, Joe.
Go for it. Please.
This was in Osaka, because we talked about cars before. Caught a couple nice tuners. So this is a little completely stanced out Z.
The car
or Z3 that was pretty sick. And then this
that stance
pretty nice
on it,
airbrushed.
I love it. And that's so funny because all of that lower style again. Lower style has a lot to do with Southern California style that has a big like crossover into Japan. It's so funny how that like
well again
happened.
Like that Latino like Japanese connection, right? And the car culture is like a clear place where that overlap is happening.
I mean, there's a whole lowrider culture and like cholo culture and all of that is huge in Japan. You're like, what? That makes no sense. And like, it makes perfect sense. Really, it does, because immigrants from Japan came over to California and worked and migrated, and the culture mixed and intertwined and whatever. So
no, absolutely, man. And it's interesting too because mostly what you see car culture, it's wild how influential Japanese car culture is when you go there and you're like, how is that possible? No one's driving cars, and the only cars that people are driving are like really nondescript boxy K trucks, right? That's everything. But every once in a while, you see this kind of stuff. And you're like, okay, that's where the love is. That's like that's where that kind of.
Well, I can only imagine, right? Like if you're gonna baby your car, and if you've got the space to store it, you're gonna make sure that it's like, nice and cool looking. Because I mean, why waste the space or whatever for it? It's so. But yeah, those K trucks are. I mean, they're utilitarian. They're used for moving
they're great
stuff around, and they're.
But like the same way that we here see like crossovers, right? That's like the ubiquitous like form, right? Everything's a crossover. The little kind of boxy K trucks, like Daihatsu, Nissan, Toyota, they all have one, right?
Yep.
And then that's the majority of what you see.
Yeah, Japan and Brazil have a big relationship too, especially there's a whole in Brazil, there's a whole like sub community, like a little small Japan in Brazil that's pretty well known. So that's definitely for sure. I love that kind of like cross culture stuff that happens. And my favorite part about it is when you get people that like generations have gone by. So you've got like kids that have married in, and so you've got this like Japanese Brazilian mix. And while it's weird for that person because they're trying to like, what culture are you part of? What's really cool is you're part of both, and you get to be like, really enjoy both of them. What was that? Show me that. What was that?
So this is the last big meal we did was in Kyoto, and it was at a beef omakase. So like omakase style sushi where they're making it to you and handing it to you at the counter, except it's all Wagyu beef. And so I'll put this up here. This was that is
sea urchin on top, isn't it?
Sea urchin and uni. And then this guy was some beef sushi. So that is just thinly sliced wagyu on top
Thinly
of
sliced
tuna,
wagyu,
on top of rice, with like pickled ginger. And then so the way this restaurant was set up is this trench full of sand that's just like right behind the counter, and then the guy's cooking with hot coals in front of you, everything, and then that copper thing behind it is like a vacuum that's sucking all the smoke out, so you don't end up smelling like smoke, but you get all the aroma of the meat, which is like incredibly good.
It's
And then
of course it is, because it's the small problems that they make sure
Yep.
that the inconveniences, the small inconveniences. They don't want to
Yep.
inconvenience your space. They don't want you to walk out of there smelling like charcoal, but they
Exactly.
want you
And
to
like
enjoy everything.
the first thing that they served us on this, so was just like on a lemon like this, which was such an interesting way of like presenting it. And then this was the best cut. This was a Chateaubriand cut. Like you could see how insane that thing is, man.
Look at that marbling.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Oh, and I'll tell you, Pandori, like this meal, I mean, it was definitely like one of the bigger meals that we did. It was less than like 120 USD per person.
That's
for the
pretty
whole
cheap,
meal.
considering that here in the US,
And that's including like 2 glasses of wine each. So it was like Japan right now, at least with the US dollar, ends up
with the
being, like,
US
pretty
dollar is
affordable.
pretty good to go to. I've heard good things about that right now.
So, and then the last thing that was on there was this guy, which was some sirloin with just like a raw orange egg on top, and it was incredibly good.
Oh man, look at that yolk.
That is the color of the yolk.
Whoa.
Totally undoctored. That's just what the yolk looks like.
that chicken ate good. That's
that chicken
ate
good.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of the salivary aspect of it.
Did you get to try any McDonald's or KFC or anything like that?
Yep, we did both. I did KFC.
Okay.
Because I love my KFC, and they had like a Japanese only there's like a black pepper and garlic flavor, which was like pretty good. And the quality was definitely better.
KFC's for those who aren't aware, KFC's big in Japan. The Colonel's big in Japan.
Oh yeah.
But also like KFC is a traditional Christmas meal.
Yep. Yeah.
Like Christmas equals you go to KFC.
Yeah.
Like so I always think it's really funny that KFC is like a thing for Christmas. I don't know how that, I don't remember the story on how that kind of how it happened, but so you had the KFC,
and then we did McDonald's one night as well. Which like I had like a teriyaki Big Mac, which was like instead of burgers, it's like pork. And then had like the teriyaki sauce on it. It was pretty good. They had like instead of and then they made these like almost katsu style chicken like patties that you could get, and then they came in a bag with like you could pick which kind of like flavoring or spice you wanted, and you put the spice in with the chicken, shook it up, and then ate it, and that was good. That was hella good.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I loved that.
Oh man, that's so cool. Did they? So how was the employee look at McDonald's? Tell me, was it the best McDonald's like service you've had like ever?
I mean,
Because
I'll say this.
I don't know about you. McDonald's service is always terrible. Like it doesn't like every time I walk into McDonald's, it's like I'm literally inconveniencing the person that I'm like walking in. And I mean, they're like, "What do you want? Why are you here? What are you ordering? Go away."
So the McDonald's I went to was in Electric Town, Osaka. So it was like basically Akihabara, but Osaka's version of it. And so it was like pretty automated. Like there were like kiosks that you order from on a screen, and then you go and you wait for like one of the 4 people. The like lady who seemed in charge, she seemed like a late middle-aged lady who was like a general in the kitchen, man. Like she was calling the shots and getting you your stuff. And so I mean it worked great. It was a little hairy, but I mean it was, definitely certainly better than most of my McDonald's experiences back here. For sure. Yeah.
So okay. So let's like I'm gonna keep talking about food because I want to ramen.
Yeah. So I had at least 5 bowls of ramen on the trip. We did Ichiran, which is like the sort of if you Google like ramen in Japan, it's probably the one you'll see because it's the one where it's like just you in a little booth and they hand it to you through a window. It was fine. I mean, like, well, I'll say this: all the ramen I had was better than any of the ramen.
Infinitely
I had
better
here,
than most
right?
that you get here in the U.S. Right?
Like
Yeah.
the so when I say it was fine, it was not like the best ramen I had. It was still very very good. And then like one of the ramen experiences we had was like we ate at one of those ramen counters that's like standing only, you know, because that's like meant for people that are like going and need to be done in 5 minutes because they're going to work, like that kind of thing. And that was a cool experience. It wasn't the best ramen we had, but it was still really good. Probably my favorite ramen. I had like a black shoyu ramen.
Tonkatsu is mine.
That was
Okay.
amazing. I've had tonkatsu ramen before, and I had some there, and it was also great. But I'd never had like a super dark black shoyu ramen, and that was a very cool experience.
That's the black garlic.
Garlic and
oil.
soy, yeah,
Garlic and soy, yeah.
yeah. Which is super super good. Trying to think. Yeah, so we had at least 4 or 5 places, and then the katsu places, dude. That was a huge get for me. Oh my god.
Yeah.
We went to this
I was the curry.
Curry was good too. We didn't
Because
got a
every
bunch of
time I have
curry. Yeah.
we've got a pretty good Japanese place here, and the curry's pretty good. It's better than most, like, better than making golden curry at the house, right?
Sure. Right.
For sure. But like, how was it there? Like, was it definitely like?
It was good. I mean, so I probably am not the best person to talk about Japanese curry because I don't know it very well. But it was good. It was like sweet. It was flavorful. I enjoyed all of it that I had. The best place we went was probably it was actually a katsu place in Shibuya. And Wit got the katsu and curry there, and it was delicious, man. I got a bowl of
Courtney loved katsu.
katsudon in Kanazawa, which was super good too. Yeah, loved that.
Is it a katsudon? That's the pork cheese as well?
It's a rice bowl.
Okay, it's the rice bowl. The katsudon was the rice bowl. So we have a place that is the rice bowl, but then there's also like the katsu with it's cut in half, and then like there's cheese on the inside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I've had that, and that's like bananas good.
So this was the best katsu I had. So this was like this is the one that Wit had the curry version of it. But so yeah, that's just miso soup, and then this is breaded pork loin and pork chop. And like it was insanely good. I was a little mad at how good it was. And this was like the
udon. Any good udon?
We didn't get. We got a lot of soba. We didn't get udon.
Okay.
That was the one we didn't get. But this, you can see like it was in this cool kind of like all homemade, sort of like down in the middle of Shibuya, super quiet in one of the busiest parts of town, with like some of the best food we had on the whole trip. This stuff, it was amazing.
So good. I could live vicariously through food. That's my favorite part of travel. Like I think like to me food is like one of those things where like if you're not eating good on your travels, then you're not traveling. Like
you're certainly not traveling with me. Like
yeah, you're not traveling. Yeah. Like food is like you don't get to know the people and the culture by just like walking. Like the food tells you so much.
Yeah.
Food is so important to the culture, in my opinion. Like I can't imagine.
This was one of our like convenience store runs. So you can see like that's the fried chicken from Lawson's, got the cup of noodles going, got the consomme flavored potato chips going.
Oh, how are those?
They were great. They were delicious. Yeah, they were delicious. You gotta have.
No, So okay, so all food. Wait, I'm gonna ask one more food question. Treat.
Do it.
Sweetness. What was the surprise hit?
Oh, the sweets were amazing. The sweets were incredible, man. And like kind of across the board, they were delicious. And they were always available. So we were there in strawberry season. So we had tons of good strawberry stuff.
I've heard the strawberries are really good there. Like there's something
like
about the way that they're grown. And
this right here we got at Tsujiki Fish Market in Tokyo. So this is like mochi daifuki with fresh strawberries, and then this is like strawberries and grapes in sort of just glass sugar.
I love it. And again, someone, I mean, if you're not familiar with Japanese culture and just in general, like you would think like that doesn't look very like deep. About Japan, it's the simplicity of it. It's like just like that simplicity of that dish right there. It's like grapes and strawberries and sugar, but just already blows your mind. Like just the way they did it, the technique, the way that they did it, like in general. That white strawberry was probably sweet.
Oh, it was incredibly sweet. And then yeah. We also got fish. Like here's our the tuna I got there. Hang on. Don't worry, we also got fish at the fish market. Yeah, so this was like this was the tuna sashimi that we bought for like 500 yen. For like some medium fatty tuna. It was ridiculous.
Still.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That cut right there would have been like $20 here in the US.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. It was like $6 here. Yeah. So yeah, the strawberry stuff was amazing. And then what was the other sweet? Basically, I love red bean paste, so having all the red bean stuff like was a lot of like fun to actually have like super readily available too. I loved that.
Surprise hit? Anything new that you tried? What was something that new that you really tried? Like
honestly, that fish I was telling you about earlier was probably the biggest surprise hit. It was so good. And then probably the best place that we stumbled into and ended up being like easily a top 3 meal was this place, tiny little izakaya. Fried chicken was crazy good, like insanely good, man. Like it was like the crispiest thing I'd ever bitten into. And then he also had this like amazing no panty vending machine. Did not see any. And then this was basically a bunch of pickled vegetables with a scrambled egg and bonito flakes.
And bonito flakes. Courtney would go nuts. She hates bonito flakes. She doesn't like the way they like move around.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But it was just this dude and like grimy kind of tiny little izakaya in Takayama.
That guy's whole life work.
This was his menu. This was the menu.
Yeah.
He moved from Tokyo to Takayama in the middle of nowhere to like set up in izakaya, and he's living his dream. And he's a cartoonist. This was outside the front of the izakaya.
I love it.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh man,
that was probably the biggest surprise. Just like that tiny little place that was like, this is best fried chicken I think I've ever had.
All right, so what'd you buy? Show us what you got.
I got two little. Well, so first of all, representing Cup Noodles New Era shirt that I bought.
Yeah,
it's got nutrition facts on the back. The cool game stuff I got. So picked up. I don't think either of these are like worth much. It's just a matter of like they were like cool to me. So obviously I'm a big Baldur's Gate 3 fan. Loved Divinity. And so I found.
Did you go to any of the places?
Ego Draconis Japanese copy, which is like a cool little underplayed game for Xbox 360. It's not worth much, but I think it's cool, so I picked it up when I saw it.
That's a good game. That's a good game to get. Did you go to any places from the game Yakuza? It's so realistic.
Oh, good question. I mean, probably. I haven't played enough Yakuza. I've played Like a Dragon, and I played part of Yakuza 0, and I'm playing right now Infinite Wealth, but that's in Hawaii. So mostly I was recognizing places from the Persona games, actually. That was the main thing. But yeah, and then the other thing I picked up was this copy of SimCity for Windows 3.1.
Love it.
A little 1993 Japanese action. Loved this game and was really pumped to find it. And so picked these up from
a box copy in Japan. It's really cool.
Yeah,
probably a bookstore.
This was actually at Super Potato. We stopped by, and that was my souvenir from Super Potato. Yeah. And the SimCity, I mean, it was like, let's see, it was 2,500 yen, so it was like maybe $12, $15, something like that.
That's fine.
Yeah. I was happy to pay it. Yeah. So those were the two main kind of video game pickups. I went. We got some like ceramic stuff. Got like a ceramic sake set because like all of the like houseware stuff, like clay and ceramic stuff they do was amazing. And then we just got a bunch of stuff for our friends. We like shop for our friends' kids, getting them like some Pokemon stuff. I mean the things I got at Super Potato weren't too bad price wise.
Yeah, I mean we talked about that early before he even left, but I mean he shopped smart. If he spent only $12 American on
this
that,
thing was like 800 yen, so this was like $4 basically. And I was like, I'm not breaking the bank.
When you go to Super Potato prices are always awful when you're looking for the popular things, right? So like if you were like, I'm gonna pick up a Game Boy, and then you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I want to pick up a Famicom, and then you go there, and all that stuff is marked up because they know that American tourists will go in there and pay it
yeah,
because they don't know how to go anywhere else.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
the random stuff like that, where Americans wouldn't buy it anyway unless they know it, and then
Yeah.
it's
And I'm not like a hardcore collector or anything. I'm just kind of like looking for something to keep from there that reminds me of stuff that I liked when I was a kid.
yeah.
Um,
You're
yeah,
making visual memories.
yeah,
For
yeah.
sure, for sure.
So it was cool. And then I almost bought a mechanical keyboard. I was real close. There's like the I don't know how into mechanical keyboards you are. um, but
I've been getting more and more. It's become a thing.
yeah.
It's becoming
So
dangerous for sure.
it had been a while since I'd last been shopping for mechanical keyboards, which means I missed the advent of Hall effect switches in the mechanical
Oh
keyboard world.
no, yeah,
And
that's
so
the new thing.
there are a lot of Hall effect stuff that I was checking out. I ended up not buying it there, but I did end up ordering one when I got back home. So one that I got to try out, which was cool.
Yeah, I recently I picked up the this was back in Black Friday. What is it? I'll show you the
And while you're pulling that up,
yeah.
Pandora, yeah, I see you. Um, Let me show you the one that I picked up here. So it is the Polar 65 by Arbiter Studio. And this is so they're magnetic Hall effect gaming or like mechanical keyboards. And basically because of that, and this is a linear action one, so you don't have that tactile bump. It feels like a mechanical keyboard that's already been like pre-lubed and has like nice like cushions on it. Like the feel on this thing was crazy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because it's just like it's so smooth. And because it's Hall effect, you can actually adjust manually to the millimeter the point of actuation you want. So you can have like a 1 millimeter point of actuation, or not millimeter, that's the wrong, but like, or you can kind of, I think there's like 38 degrees of actuation points that you can select for it, which is cool and
Yeah,
not possible with like the traditional mechanical stuff.
I've
Also a
got
fan of Browns, Pandora. I got that's what I use. I've got some Browns.
and I've got
Right now.
the 8-bit Do keyboard as well, and I've got the Famicom, or the Fami version of it, not the
Nice.
US version of it. So, but I picked up my last big mechanical purchase was this bad boy. So I picked up the Clumsy K3.
Yeah,
So and
that's
it comes
sick.
with decent stuff, but what's nice about it is all the switches are removable.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
hot
so the
swappable.
idea is hot swappable. It's a really great, and it's got a built-in screen. It's a built-in touch screen.
That's cool.
And volume control, and it's even got a M2 port in the back, so you can drop
Nice.
it's very cyber decky. Is kind of what I like
Yeah.
about it. I
Definitely.
mean, you could technically use it as a screen for, it's my favorite accessory that I use with my Steam Deck actually.
Oh,
Which is
okay.
so funny because it's this resolution is like the 720 range, give
Yeah.
or take, but it's
Yeah.
ultra wide.
Yeah.
So
That's
like,
interesting.
so you plug your Steam Deck to that, and then you get like a 720p ish ultra wide screen.
Huh.
That's not very taxing on the Steam
Yeah, it's
Deck.
not hard to drive.
Right. So, but you get that full ultra wide aspect ratio, and so
That's
playing
cool.
certain games that I like playing, like first person shooters and whatever, on ultra wide is really
Yeah.
cool in that. So, and so you're just playing keyboard and mouse, but you've got your screen there, so it's pretty
Right.
neat for that.
That's nice, man.
So,
That's nice.
but yeah, same thing. It's got the keyboard. I swapped out I already swapped out the keycaps. I went with like a retro style, like I wanted kind of a worn out like Commodore look on
Oh
it,
yeah.
since I was going for kind of I was going for a very like cyberpunk slash a cyber deck style thing,
Yeah.
like something that would have been pieced together from like old computer parts. So that's what I
Where'd you
like
get
about
your
that.
keycaps from?
These particular ones, I would have to take a look. Let me see if I can
I always
find
have a
them.
hard time finding keycap stuff. I was on the hunt for keycaps over in Japan, and I found a few sets, but I think I just wasn't sure really where to look, because like even though the keyboard selections at the major stores like Yobidashi Camera and Bic are great, the keycap, they didn't really have like keycaps. So I went to a few smaller stores. There was one store, man, that Joe made me think of you. it was just straight like it was a whole floor of like I mean, I'm an idiot. I'm not like as tuned into this stuff as you are, but it just seemed like it was a whole floor of like basically raw circuitry for like modding,
Oh,
like in Tupperware
yeah,
boxes that you could just like
yeah.
shuffle
That's the
through,
kind of stuff.
all
That's the
brand
kind of
new.
stuff that would
It was
it would
unbelievable,
drive
man.
me crazy.
It was
Like I would.
unbelievable.
You couldn't get me out of that room.
Yeah,
Like
it
stuff
was
like that is the kind of stuff where like it's that thrifting vibe that like
yeah,
kind of like you get to dig for stuff and you
yeah.
know that the stuff is like junk to most people, but not junk to everyone.
Totally. The other thing that I almost bought, I ended up not, but I spent a lot of time in the like audiophile headphone shops over there.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and
And
it
they're
is
big on
like
that. Like that's a thing.
they're big on it and it's testable. Everything's out for you to
Yes.
try. So like I got to
Also,
try these like
Audio Technica's big there, and Audio Technica Japan,
yep.
their division is different than when you buy Audio Technica in the US. It's because they've got very
Yes.
specific Audio Technica, like Japan, like Japanese only specific headphones, like models that you have to import.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Um
Did you
trying
pick
to
up anything?
find I did not end up picking up anything because at the end of the day I realized I had not done enough of my own good research to know
Research, yeah.
exactly which one I needed to buy. Because like it was in the shop and it was like dozens of like the really high end stuff that like I mean I got to try on the Audi's LCD fives for the first time. There were like a lot of planar stuff that like is hard to find elsewhere.
Mm, yeah,
Or is
yeah.
hard to
Well, you
find
don't.
to like try on.
Yeah, you never
It was
try them
amazing.
on. Like you
That's
would
the
have
thing.
to. Wow,
I did
planar,
almost
yeah.
buy a pair of used Grados that I was really into, but I ended up I backed off.
Grados are always fun because the modding community for Grados is always great too. There's a whole like subculture of like
Oh
changing
yeah.
this out, changing that out, changing the wire and
Well,
making
the
them look
Grado
and
stuff is
really
so
look.
handmade to begin with. It's so well
Yeah,
suited to that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah. So I had a lot of fun with that.
yeah, yeah. Team Midori, Audio Technica headphones are great, but like there are you can look up online and type in like Audio Technica like Japan only, and there's all sorts of like models, colorways, specifics in the sense that like you might find like a very specific model that's universal all worldwide, but then the tuning is different and it's got a
Yes.
different model number in Japan.
Yeah.
And why that is, who knows? But it's just that's the way it is. Like there's a couple companies that are like that for very specific. Sony's also got, of course, Sony does. Sony's got very specific
Oh yeah,
headphones
yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever else that are Japan only. I mean, I another thing that I would have probably like drove me crazy is in Japan. I again recent dive into like audiophileness and stupidity of like I love mini disc.
Oh
I
yeah.
love mini disc. It's just such a like again. It's one
Yeah.
of those in my brain. It's one of those alternate future pieces of tech. It's one of those things that
Yeah.
like what could have been. Like you
What if it
look
was
at it.
beta instead of VHS?
Yeah, I mean, you look at this thing and it's just like
Yeah.
nothing. There's no piece of media in my head that looks more futuristic than a mini disc. Like
Yes.
you look at it, it's just like clear plastic, and like you get this like disc floating in it, and it's like just really cool looking. It's like you click it, like everything about it looks futuristic, but it like didn't hit off.
Yeah.
But Japan did. Japan had like a whole
Yeah, it had a
running
lot.
culture of it, and seeing like shops of like people would like you could go in and record like used to have like mini disc kiosks that you walk up and you like pop in your mini disc and you're like I want these 7
Yep.
songs or whatever, and you'd buy them and it would record them onto your mini disc and you'd pop it out and you're good to go.
Well, and to
Like,
that
kind of
point,
stuff is cool.
we visited a few record shops, and I say record shops, but like vinyl's not big there the way that it is here. It's CDs. Like
Yeah,
CDs are
CDs.
huge. And
Yeah,
so like I was having this experience where like you know, I'm in Tower Records. I wanted to listen buy some like city pop records. And it's like I was like 15 in FYE again. Like just putting on headphones and picking the number out and listening there in the store. It was amazing.
you don't see that anymore here, man.
No.
Oh, that's dead culture 100% here. Like
Yeah.
you would think like that would be still be a thing, but it's not.
Well, and
It's
that's
not.
the other thing. Like that's exactly right. Like because there's so many things that here feel like dead culture, sort of like retro 80s stuff, like arcades, crane machines, like the
And all of
CD
that
kind of
is
like record
still
shop
there.
stuff, the malls, like it's all there, and not just there, but like extremely central to like how people interact with one another.
Yeah.
like Whitney and I spent about an hour when we were in Akihabara, just like in crane machine games. Like we just like, and there were tons of people there, not tourists, like tons of people that just like live there. Their kids
Yeah,
and
I
they're
mean,
like friends
it's a
out having
thing.
a good time. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
all the and what I like about the crane machines in Japan is Sega's still kind of a big proponent there, and
Hmm.
they have special edition waves
Oh yeah.
of plush that are in there. So like,
Yep.
for example, right now, like you said, you were in strawberry season slash
Yeah.
plum blossom. So they
Yep.
would have had like a strawberry season plum blossom plushie,
Totally.
either a Mickey or a Sonic character or Sega character or something like that in those machines, in those Sega claw machines.
Yeah.
And you could only have gotten them during that time. So collectors will hit those crane machines in Japan and go after those. Like that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
like a whole thing. And that's so cool. Like again, Japan is stuck in the early 2000s, futuristic in the 90s, but now kind of behind, but it's how I'd prefer it. Yeah, no, I agree. Like there's some things that I say that, you know, I don't want to feel like the old man yelling at clouds, but like we really did like delineate, like we were like, oh, we're gonna go so futuristic that we're not gonna that we're just gonna like abandon all physical media, abandon this and abandon that, abandon mall culture. And so like we've lost our way in the like social aspect, we've lost our way. So then there's a reason why things like that 80s Stranger Things style
Yeah. Why
is so
people are so attached to it.
romanticized,
Yeah.
why we're so attached to it is because we pine, it's not just nostalgia that we pine for, but there is like a sense of like camaraderie of like your friends going together to a
Shared
mall and
experiences.
shared experiences of hopping in and going, hey, new record, new CD,
Yeah.
here, put these on, and you're listening to the music and sharing a dessert at a mall food court. And
Yeah.
while some of that is still around in the US, it's dying.
Yeah. Not
It's
much.
almost dead. Not much. It's hard to
Yeah.
find.
Yep.
So yeah, by all means. And Team Pandora, you posted a video a while back about like, you know, the bullying and all that kind of stuff. I remember you talking about like I remember you posted a video about going out and spending some time there. And
Mm.
that kind of stuff is just so cool because that stuff doesn't exist here in the US. You don't get that kind of like aspect. And
Yeah.
so I mean, we've got like things like Dave and Buster's, but it's almost become like it's a novelty, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a
Like
novelty and it's like ironic, right?
it's
Like
ironic.
you would go with your friends if you're like gonna be like, I mean, yeah, we went to Dave and Buster's. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like that's like the way you would do
Like,
it.
oh, you're going to Dave and Buster's, but
Yeah.
like that is a common thing. Like in Japan, you're like, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
out after work. You're gonna go and probably sing karaoke and get a
Yeah.
karaoke room, or go get beers and have have food and all that kind of stuff. And someone would be like, "That's a very themed night," and then it's like, "No, that's just a night
Yeah.
in
That's just,
Japan."
yeah. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
wow, that's so
Yeah, man.
cool. So cool. Well, man, I'm so glad you had a great time. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you could probably talk. There's so much more you could probably talk about. I'm gonna probably hit you up, when we're in
Oh yeah, dude.
Boston, for sure.
Yeah, we can talk more for sure next week. Which
S-
super excited. Super excited
Super
for next
excited.
week.
So we're super excited. We'll be live. We'll be probably doing a show. We'll do one of these in Boston, in person. It'll be
That's gonna be
great.
awesome.
It'll be great. I'm excited. Real quick, just a life update on my side. So
Yeah,
I'll give you
please.
kind of a heads up because lots of things have happened. So
Yep.
just from the time that I had a live show and to now, like I started a whole new job. I started a whole new career, and I talked about it a little bit. I've posted a little about it here and there. So I now do I'm now what's, I guess my term would be like a STEM manager. I guess would be the way to
Mm.
work it. So I work for a private school, and I am now kind of like in charge of this giant STEM lab. And if you're not familiar with STEM, it's like science, technology, engineering, mathematics,
Yep.
that sort of stuff. And the whole idea is we've got 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC machines, welding, soldering, woodworking,
You
all
got all
those
the toys, man.
machines, all the toys, man. And
Yeah.
this I feel very blessed is kind of a weird term because I'm not religious, but it's kind of the best way to
I
put
know
it.
what you mean, though.
And
I mean,
it's like you
I've
walk in,
loved. I was just
yeah.
gonna say I've loved seeing the pictures of it because you look giddy, man, and it warms the heart. I love it.
It has been like I can't comprehend, like I go to work and like my job is literally like getting 3D printers going,
Yeah,
like,
dude.
oh, we gotta get the drone up and running, oh, let's get this laser cutter going, and
Yeah.
that's my job, like that's my thing. And I'm getting kids prepared on that, and eventually I'll be teaching some kids on how to use some of that stuff. And yeah, I'll be posting more and more on it, but it's everything I do in my home life and my hobby and my like the gaming and the like
Yeah.
repair and all that stuff is now like that's my job on a day-to-day basis.
And you get to
So
share
that's
that with
really
like
cool.
a bunch of kids that are like
Yeah.
coming up in it, right? Like that rules.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's and also what's really fun is I'm gonna be learning something new every day.
Yeah.
Like and that's kind of the enticing part for me as well is like there's no stagnant there's no stagnicity, I guess would be the best way to put it in it all.
Yeah.
It's like everything, all tech, all of that is constantly moving and flowing and whatever. We're getting new technology, new things, new equipment, new whatever else. And so because of that, I have to kind of stay on my feet and like new updates, new this, new that,
Right.
new whatever. And these kids walk in there, and if they're interested in that, they're also kind of techie and geeky, and so they
Yeah.
know things that I don't know. And so all of
Totally.
a sudden, it's a whole time for me to sit down and learn from them. So that's really cool.
That's
And like I
awesome.
said earlier, I'm on spring break right now. I started the job and then I took a break. I took a week off, and the next week I
I
go to
love that.
Boston. But it's working out great. I'm actually I I missed work so much that I went to work today. I went to the office today. I went to the lab today to put some tools up and kind of just put some things down. And yeah, I'm just excited to go back on Monday, only to have to leave. But
Yeah,
and then
head out
and
again.
then on the flip side, again, if you're not following me on my other social media aspects, I posted on Twitter and I posted on Facebook or whatever else. Yesterday, Tuesday, I was sitting here at the house, enjoying it, relaxing with the pups. So, here's the pups. There they are, and
Wow.
we were sitting there, and the house shook, and so I had a car slam into the side of the house, and
So
so
you were home when that happened.
I was home when that happened,
Good
and so
lord,
like
dude.
I've got footage of it. It's craziness. I just like it's absolutely nuts that
It's
that
insane.
happened. But I mean, you could here I can share this this video here. Um, so you can kind of see here. This is the camera on the side of my house, and it's you know nice and quiet, just chilling. Oh, it's gonna every time I flip over here, I'll keep going. So yeah, it's just chilling. It's recording, and again, if you could hear the audio, you could seriously. It's
Wow. Dude, that is terrifying, man. What's the like speed limit on that road?
not very much. It's like
That guy seemed
35.
like he was flying. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
Good lord.
So, I mean, you could clearly see like the guy, and this guy never stopped. So the guy in the silver truck never
He
stopped.
just drove off.
Yeah, he drove off. So it was a hit and run, for sure. We so right there, you see he hits him, and then
Unreal, dude.
and that guy never stopped. He just kept going.
Unreal.
So yeah.
Wow.
So the guy, when I talked to him, he lost control of it. He tried to do his best to kind of like miss the house. I'm kind of glad he hit that spot versus I don't know, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? He hit the back of the house to the far back corner. That far back corner is my office. So
Oh
he-
man.
he plowed right into the back. So where my desk is, where you see me every day in my show,
Yeah.
it's fine. But that closet door where like my
Okay.
3D printers are, that's all caved in. So that whole back corner of that closet is just boom.
But you like
Everything
just
kinda
moved
came in.
into this house
I
relatively
just moved into
recently,
the
right?
house. I just moved in. Exactly. And that's kind of the irony. It's like no good turn comes without the bad. So like I just got this new job. I'm all like, ooh, I'm hyping. I'm
Bro.
like, ooh, I'm going to pack. And all of a sudden, boom, a freaking car hits the house, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
what? What is
Yeah.
happening? And so the wife and kids are fine. They were out of town. They're in
Okay.
Houston. They're visiting my family and my in-laws. And so it's just me
Okay.
and the dogs, two of the dogs, just kind of vibing here. And the whole purpose of me staying here was getting some projects done,
Sure.
getting some stuff done, getting the office put together. And now the office is kind of
Yeah, now
not
you've
as put together as I would have liked
I
to
imagine
since
not.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
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 So
Is
we're
like
now dealing with like insurance and whatever
insurance,
else.
right?
Yeah, so the update on that is kind of interesting because I would have thought that the insurance of the guy that hits me, like the black truck, would have been the one I go through, and then that guy would have to go through the insurance of the hit and run guy, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because I mean, you kind
Because
of
like
trickle
there's
it
clear
down.
fault, Right.
there's clear fault, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like one hit one, so I gotta hit someone's insurance. And
Right.
apparently not. Apparently because it was a hit and run, the liability company for the company that for the truck for the black truck is like they're not
Right.
they're not gonna cover it. They're like no. And I'm just like, well, like I get that it's not his fault, but like his truck's the one that did it. He could have hit the brakes. He could have not hit me.
Yeah. Sure.
Like but so now I filed a claim with my homeowner's insurance, which means
Yeah.
that like now it's a claim under me
Right.
until they can figure out the police report. They can figure out there was an individual across the street that was standing in his yard when all that happened. So he snapped pictures of the truck as best as he could.
Okay.
The truck was booking it. He got the first 3 digits of the license plate and of course the model, and I've got the pictures and I've got the video and all that. So we gave it to the cops, and we're hoping that they can like find it, because there's obviously a silver Toyota Tundra out there with front damage with those 3 license plate numbers that's got to be picked up somewhere, and that's a hit and run, man. Like that's
it's clear as day.
Like it's a felony as well in Texas.
Yeah.
Like it's like a big deal. So like, I mean, the guy's in big trouble.
Bro.
But I'm hoping they get him so that way everyone kind of the payout kind of works out. Because I feel sorry for the guy's truck who got like totally busted up, and
sure, that's not what his day was looking like. That's not
he was the guy was on his way back to work. He was heading home to pick up a tool. He was a construction dude. He picks up his tools, some sanders, and he was heading back to work. And the guy's day was ruined. And so I spent all Tuesday moving bricks and debris and stuff out of the office into the side of the street and whatever else to kind of like to get all that cleared up. And so that's where I'm at. So we're dealing with insurance and whatever. Of course, next year I'll be in PAX. Next week I'll be at PAX. So like, I'm excited for that, but I'm just like, holy crap, really? Like, did it have to be the week before PAX? Or like,
right? But, I mean, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad the fam's okay and all that. Obviously, that's the most important thing. But man, what a unbelievable pain.
It was definitely a pain.
Lord.
It's was not the planning of it. And for anyone who wants to see, I could share these too. Here's the there's the truck showed inside the corner of my house there. And you could see here.
I mean, that took out a chunk, dude.
Yeah, it hit the back corner of the house, and it's like that wheel right there. So what's so funny is that wheel right there, underneath that wheel, my laser cutter. So I will make sure I get that replaced with whatever insurance payout is happening.
Is your house like, I mean, structurally, is it okay? Like, I don't know what this means. Like, at all.
Because that's basically the garage. That would have been the garage at the time, but they converted that into an office.
I got you.
So, but you can see like there's the crack that kind of built. So they're gonna have to replace and fix all of that.
Oh yeah.
But and finally when they pulled it out, and I mean, I don't know if you can see like look at this.
Oh yeah,
that's an Oculus box right there.
Yeah, it is. I do. Yeah.
So up here in the closet, up in the top part of the closet, there is my is like a shelf, and I had all like the boxes of like empty stuff in there. So
good Lord, dude.
Yeah. So that's when they pulled it out.
Big old extended cab F-150.
That's just me laughing at it. I appreciate it. It is what it is, man.
The dude who was driving was okay, or?
Yeah, he was fine.
Yeah. It was weird. It was the thing that I thought of when I woke up and I saw this on your Facebook was just like, man, I haven't seen a truck that big since I since I left for Japan.
Yeah, right.
Massive.
All okay. Dog's okay. I was on the other side of the house. Like I said, you could hear the dogs barking when the camera hit because I was literally on the side of the house. And what's so funny is I was not in that room doing a 3D print at the time. I had just I had walked out like 10 minutes earlier and walked out of that room. So 10 minutes earlier, I would have been in that. I would have been sitting like
it would have been in your lap.
Not in that 5. It would have been like I would have been sitting. I don't even know what. I can't even imagine what that would have felt like being in that room.
Oh yeah,
in my office chair, just like boom, just like the whole shake come in, and there's the whole office has got like this thin layer of like brick dust everywhere.
Sure.
So I'm like cleaning everything off, and it's just a mess. So.
Well, all right.
And again, it's a sliding door closet, so everything's like I turned that 2-door closet kind of into like a little workshop. So the door was open. So when the
Right.
impact hit, like there was chunks of brick in my office, like all the way in
Ooh.
my office. I was like, "What the heck?" Like that's how hard it hit. So, but all 3D, and now our 3D safe situations. Well, no, they're not actually. All of them survived to a degree. I was able to kind of get them all up and running. And what was great is my K1 Max, which is my newer one, it was in the middle of all 3 of them and survived. And all, my bamboo survived, and so all good. I needed to because I'm working on prints for people right now, so like I'm really glad those didn't get damaged. But my laser cutter is out of commission at the moment.
Yeah,
so.
I imagine so. If that's where it ended up, yeah.
Yep.
Woof.
So, but on the flip side, the silver lining is maybe I can do a little more of a, fix and addition on that side of like lab work, and I'm already thinking I gotta think on the positive side of it all. So,
well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the attitude you bring into it.
Yeah.
That's like you said, not plan A.
Not
for
plan
the week before PAX East.
No, that's what it is. It is what it is. But I'm
the new
excited.
house.
I'm excited. And I'm glad the wife isn't here, so like I said, I've been dealing with like people on the phone all day today.
Yeah.
But outside of that, next week we'll be at PAX. We'll be in Boston. We'll be live. We'll do a show together. We'll be in the same room in the actual meet space.
It's gonna be awesome.
I'm excited, and I will take footage and whatever else. And we've got I've got some new I got some new wireless mics, so it'll be nice
sick.
to kind of some nice like clip-on wireless lavalier
Yeah.
mics that plug into like USB-C and you record, and so
Love
it'll be
it.
nice to take some stuff, so be able to get some footage on the expo hall and throw it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So yeah, all right,
Dope.
folks. Man, I'm so glad you had an awesome trip.
Yeah.
That looked like one of those lifetime trips, like those
That was
like
great.
once in a lifetime opportunities, and I'm sure you're already planning to go back.
Oh yeah.
I can only,
We'll
I can
figure
only
it out.
imagine. I can only imagine it mentally. You're just like, I want to be back there.
I do want to recover from jet lag a little bit more before I go back.
For sure. For sure. Oh man. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for just sitting back and relaxing and listening to us talk. But we'll be back next week, Thursday, give or take. It'll be the first day of the convention, and it'll be nice to kind of do a wrap up on that. And
Yeah.
we'll find a nice spot to kind of like do this. So it'll be cool.
A little bit more back to our regularly scheduled topics.
Back to regular scheduled programs for sure. But
Yeah.
all right, folks. Thanks so much. Be kind. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we will be back next week. Take care, everyone.
See you later.